Commander Alex Nelson took a deep breath as he looked out the large observation window of Space Station Unity. The stars seemed different today, brighter perhaps, as if they knew what was about to happen. After decades of searching the skies, humanity was about to meet aliens face to face for the first time. "Commander, the alien ship will dock in 15 minutes, said Lieutenant William Carter, his voice tight with tension. Carter was the head of security, and his hand kept moving to rest on his holstered weapon. Alex nodded. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Please make sure the welcome team is ready." As Carter left, Alex turned his attention back to the approaching ship. It was unlike anything humans had built, smooth and curved like a teardrop, with shimmering blue lights pulsing along its hull. The Zephyrians, as they called themselves, had made contact 3 months ago through radio signals. Now they were here, and everything would change. "Nervous?" asked Dr. Susan Wright as she joined him at the window. Her dark hair was pulled back in a neat bun and her eyes sparkled with excitement. "Should I be?" Alex asked with a small smile. "We're about to meet beings from another world. I'd be worried if you weren't at least a little nervous," she replied. As the station's top scientist and xenobiologist, Susan had been preparing for this moment her entire career. Together they watched the alien ship grow larger as it approached. The station's comm system buzzed to life. Unity control to Commander Nelson. "The Zephyrian vessel has requested final docking clearance." Alex pressed the comm button on his wrist device. "This is Commander Nelson. Give them clearance to dock. At Bay 3. He turned to Susan. "Let's go greet our guests." The welcome party gathered in the main docking area. Alex, Susan, Lieutenant Carter with 2 security officers, Ambassador Kelly Rogers from Earth's United Government, and Chief Engineer Frank Martinez. They stood in a semicircle facing the airlock doors, each feeling the weight of history on their shoulders. "Remember," Ambassador Rogers said quietly, "we represent all of humanity today." The airlock hissed and began to cycle. Alex felt his heart beating faster. The inner door slid open with a soft mechanical whir. The first alien stepped through, and despite all the video communications they'd had, Alex wasn't prepared for how strange they looked in person. The Zephyrian stood nearly 7 feet tall, with skin that seemed to glow from within like moonlight on water. It had 4 long arms and moved with a grace that seemed impossible for its size. Its face had 2 large almond-shaped eyes that shifted between purple and green depending on how the light hit them. 5 more Zephyrians followed the first one into the station. They wore no clothes as humans understood them, but their bodies were adorned with what looked like liquid metal that flowed in patterns across their skin. The lead alien stepped forward and raised its upper right hand in what they had earlier explained was a gesture of peace. "I am Ambassador Thelix of the Zephyrian Collective," it said in perfect English, its voice melodic and strangely soothing. "We come in friendship to the people of Earth." Ambassador Rogers stepped forward. "On behalf of the United Earth Government, I welcome you to Space Station Unity. I am Ambassador Kelly Rogers, and this is our station commander, Alex Nelson." Alex stepped forward and attempted to copy the Zephyrian greeting gesture. "Welcome aboard, Ambassador Thelix. We are honored by your presence." Thelix's skin rippled with colors that shifted from blue to gold. "The honor is ours, Commander. Your species has accomplished much in such a short time." The formal introductions continued as each human met their alien counterparts. Dr. Wright was introduced to the Zephyrian science officer, a being named Malix, who had specialized in studying Earth's biology. Engineer Martinez met the alien ship's engineer, and they immediately began discussing propulsion systems in technical terms that made Alex's head spin. After the introductions, they moved to the station's conference room for the welcome reception. The room had been prepared with food safe for both species and displays showing Earth's art, music, and scientific achievements. "Your home is beautiful," Thelix said to Alex as they stood looking at images of Earth's oceans and mountains. "So much water, so many different environments. We'd like to show you all of it someday," Alex replied. Thelix's skin pulsed with what Alex was beginning to recognize as pleasure. "We look forward to that day, Commander. Our worlds have much to offer each other." Across the room, Lieutenant Carter watched the aliens carefully. As head of security, It was his job to be suspicious. He noticed one of the Zephyrians, a smaller, one named Velix, move away from the main group toward a computer terminal near the wall. The alien touched the screen briefly before rejoining the others. Carter moved casually to the terminal and checked the access log. It showed someone had attempted to access the station's main database, but the security protocols had blocked the attempt. He frowned and made a mental note to mention it to Commander Nelson later. As the reception continued, Dr. Wright engaged in conversation with Malix about Zephyrian biology. "Your home world must be quite different from Earth," she said, carefully, noting how the alien's movement seemed almost too fluid for normal gravity. "Yes," Malix replied. "Our world orbits a binary star system. The gravity is lighter, and our atmosphere contains more neon and argon than yours." Susan nodded, but something about the explanation didn't match the data the Zephyrians had sent ahead. She had thought their world was described as having higher gravity, not lower. A simple translation error, perhaps. The reception lasted 3 hours. By the end, even the most nervous humans had begun to relax around their alien visitors. Plans were made for cultural exchanges, scientific cooperation, and diplomatic meetings over the coming weeks. As the aliens prepared to return to their quarters in the newly constructed visitor wing, Ambassador Thelix presented Alex with a gift, a small crystal that glowed with an inner light. "This is a memory crystal from our world," Thelix explained. "It contains images and sounds from our home, a piece of Zephyria for you to keep." Alex accepted the gift with thanks, not noticing how Lieutenant Carter tensed slightly at the exchange, or how Dr. Wright's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. Later that night, as Alex placed the crystal on his desk and prepared for sleep, he couldn't help but feel that humanity had just turned a page in its history. What adventures and discoveries awaited them now that they were no longer alone in the universe? But in the visitor wing, Thelix and the other Zephyrians were having a very different conversation, one that would have greatly troubled the humans had they been able to hear it. 2 weeks had passed since the Zephyrians arrived on Space Station Unity. The initial excitement had settled into daily routines of cultural and scientific exchange. Humans and aliens worked side by side, learning from each other. Engineer Frank Martinez spent most of his days in the technology lab with the Zephyrian engineer Velix. Today they were studying the alien quantum computers, which were far more advanced than anything humans had built. "This processing core can perform calculations in multiple realities at once," Velix explained, its skin glowing a soft blue as 4 hands moved gracefully over the device. "What would take your computers years takes ours seconds." Frank nodded, trying to hide how impressed he was. "Could this technology be adapted for our systems?" "Perhaps," Velix said, its eyes shifting color. "With time and proper guidance." Meanwhile, in the biology lab, Dr. Susan Wright was conducting tests on tissue samples freely provided by the Zephyrians. She had noticed something strange. Their cellular structure seemed to change slightly from day to day, as if adapting to the station's environment. "Is this normal for your species?" she asked Malix, who was working nearby. The alien paused before answering. "Yes, we are highly adaptable. It allows us to visit many different worlds." Susan made notes on her tablet. Something still felt off about the explanation, but she couldn't put her finger on what. In the diplomatic quarter, Ambassador Kelly Rogers was deep in negotiations with Ambassador Thelix. They discussed potential trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and the possibility of humans visiting the Zephyrian homeworld someday. "We would need to build special habitats for you," Thelix said. "Our atmosphere would not be comfortable for humans for extended periods." Kelly smiled. "Just as we've had to adjust the air mixture in your quarters here." Thelix's skin rippled with colors. "Yes, you have been most accommodating." The space station had grown more crowded. A transport ship from Earth had arrived with new crew members to help manage the alien presence. Among them was Dr. Alice Bennett, a psychologist who specialized in communication between different cultures. She was fascinated by the Zephyrians. "Their language is based on both sounds and color patterns on their skin," she explained to Commander Nelson during her first briefing. I believe there are layers of meaning we're still missing. Alex nodded. Do you think they're holding back information? All species have their secrets, Alice said carefully. Wouldn't you be cautious when meeting an unknown civilization? Also new to the station were Security Officer Ryan Jacobs and Communications Specialist Olivia Patel. Jacobs had been assigned to assist Lieutenant Carter, while Patel worked to improve the translation systems between human and Zephyrian languages. Evening meals had become a time when both species gathered together. Tonight, Commander Nelson sat with Thelix discussing philosophy and space exploration. They had developed a comfortable relationship over the past weeks. Your species is young but brave, Thelix said. You venture into space despite knowing so little about what awaits you. Alex smiled. Curiosity is a powerful human trait. We can't help wondering what's out there. And what do you hope to find? Thelix asked, leaning forward slightly. Friends, knowledge, new perspectives, Alex replied. The universe is too big to face alone. Thelix's skin glowed warmly. A wise perspective, Commander. Across the dining hall, Lieutenant Carter watched them with concern. Since sharing a ceremonial meal with the aliens last week, he had been experiencing strange dreams and occasional headaches. In the dreams, he saw Earth from space, but it was different somehow. The continents were reshaped, the oceans a different color. He hadn't told anyone about these dreams, not wanting to create problems with their guests. After dinner, Carter made his way to the security office where Officer Jacobs was monitoring the station's systems. Anything unusual to report? Carter asked. Jacobs shook his head. All quiet. The aliens keep to their scheduled areas. No access attempts on restricted systems. Carter nodded, but something bothered him. Have you noticed any patterns in their movements during night shifts? Now that you mention it, Jacobs said slowly, they seem to gather in their communal area every night around 200 hours. All of them, even those who should be sleeping according to their provided schedules. Carter made a mental note to investigate this. Keep watching and record anything unusual. Don't discuss this with anyone else for now. Later that night, Dr. Bennett was reviewing her notes when she received a message from Malix, asking to meet in the observation deck. Curious, she made her way there. The observation deck was dimly lit, the vast expanse of space visible through the large windows. Malix stood alone, its skin glowing softly in the darkness. Thank you for coming, Dr. Bennett, the alien said. What can I help you with? Alice asked. Malix moved closer. We have been studying your species carefully. Your minds fascinate us, so different from our own, yet adaptable in their own way. That's kind of you to say, Alice replied, feeling slightly uncomfortable with the alien's intense focus. We believe certain humans might be more compatible with our way of thinking than others, Malix continued. You seem to understand us better than most. I'm just doing my job as a cultural liaison, Alice said. Malix's skin pulsed with colors Alice hadn't seen before. There is much our peoples could accomplish together. But first there must be trust. Complete trust. Trust takes time, Alice replied carefully. Yes, Malix agreed, but sometimes time is short. The alien reached out one of its four hands and touched a device on its wrist. The lights in the observation deck dimmed further, and Alice felt a strange sensation in her head, like a whisper she couldn't quite hear. The next morning, Commander Nelson called a staff meeting to discuss progress on the various projects. Everyone reported positive developments, but Nelson noticed that Dr. Bennett seemed distracted, her usual sharp observations absent from the discussion. Are you feeling well, Doctor? He asked her after the meeting. Just a little tired, she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. These are exciting times. Hard to sleep with so many new discoveries. As weeks turned into months, the relationship between humans and Zephyrians continued to develop. On the surface, everything seemed to be going well. Scientific breakthroughs were made, cultural understandings deepened, and friendships formed. But beneath the surface, small problems began to appear. Communications with Earth became intermittent, with unexplained delays and distortions. Some station systems experienced random malfunctions, and Lieutenant Carter's headaches grew worse, along with his suspicions. One night, unable to sleep, Carter decided to follow his instincts. He made his way quietly toward the Zephyrian quarters during their mysterious Oro 200 Hours gathering. What he discovered would change everything about the mission, and possibly the future of human-alien relations forever. Lieutenant William Carter pressed his body against the wall of the corridor, listening. The lights were dimmed for night cycle, casting long shadows through the station. He had made it to the outer area of the Zephyrian quarters undetected. Now, he needed to get closer to their gathering room without being seen. The strange dreams and headaches had gotten worse over the past week. Sometimes he heard whispers in his mind, words in a language he didn't understand. Carter was sure it had something to do with that meal he shared with the aliens, something they gave him. He moved quietly down the hall, staying close to the wall. Up ahead, a soft blue light spilled from an open doorway. He could hear the musical sounds of Zephyrian voices. Carter pulled out a small device from his pocket, a recording tool he had borrowed from the science lab. He needed evidence before bringing his concerns to Commander Nelson. The commander had become very friendly with Ambassador Thelix, and Carter knew he would need proof to convince him something was wrong. He crept closer to the door and positioned the device to record both sound and visual data. Inside the room, all 6 Zephyrians stood in a circle. Their skin glowed with intense colors, pulsing in patterns Carter had never seen before. In the center of their circle floated what looked like a holographic map of the solar system, with Earth highlighted. The preparation of the human vessel continues as planned, Thelix was saying. Their neural pathways are responsive to our influence, particularly in the female called Bennett. Another Zephyrian, Malix the scientist, raised 2 of its arms. The atmospheric adjustments proceed slowly. The humans have not detected the changes yet. In 3 more cycles, the balance will shift enough for Phase 2. Carter felt his blood run cold. What atmospheric changes? What were they doing to Dr. Bennett? The resistance from the security human concerns me, Thelix said. His mind fights are subtle probes. He suspects. Thelix's skin darkened. He will be dealt with. Our mission is too important to be compromised by one suspicious human. Carter had heard enough. He backed away slowly, planning to return to his quarters and review the recording. But as he turned, he bumped into a cart of supplies, sending it crashing to the floor. The Zephyrian voices stopped immediately. Carter ran, no longer caring about stealth. He needed to get to Commander Nelson with what he had learned. The next morning, Engineer Frank Martinez was working in the main control room when he noticed something strange. The station's power usage patterns showed spikes during night hours that couldn't be explained by normal operations. He dug deeper into the system logs and found unauthorized access to the environmental controls. This doesn't make sense, he muttered to himself. Someone had been making small adjustments to the station's air mixture, increasing certain gases while decreasing others. The changes were tiny, almost unnoticeable on daily checks, but over time they added up to significant alterations. As he investigated further, he found similar modifications to the sensor array and communication systems. It looked like someone was creating a shadow system that could override the main controls. Frank's comm device buzzed. Martinez here. Frank, it's Susan. Can you come to my lab? I need to show you something important. Don't tell anyone else. When Frank arrived at the biology lab, he found Dr. Wright looking worried. She closed the door behind him. I've been running tests on air samples from different parts of the station, she said, pointing to her computer screen. Look at these results. Frank studied the data. These gases, they match what I just found in the environmental system logs. Someone's been changing our air. Susan nodded grimly. And look at this. She showed him microscopic images of what looked like tiny organisms. These weren't here a month ago. They're in the air circulation system, multiplying slowly. What are they? Frank asked. I'm not sure, but they seem to be altering the air composition, Susan replied. And I found something else. She pulled up another file. These are my original notes on Zephyrian biology. Compare them to the data they provided before arriving. Frank looked between the two sets of information. They don't match. Exactly. They lied about their biological makeup, Susan said. And these changes to our air? They're making the station more like their world, not ours. Frank ran a hand through his hair. We need to tell the commander. I tried, Susan said. He said I was being paranoid and that the differences were just translation errors. He's been spending all his time with Thelix lately. Frank was about to respond when Lieutenant Carter burst into the lab, looking pale and agitated. Close the door, Carter said breathlessly. We have a problem. He told them what he had witnessed the night before and played part of the recording he had made. The three of them listened to the aliens discussing their plans. They're doing something. To Dr. Bennett, Carter finished. And they know I suspect them. Susan looked horrified. We need to contact Earth immediately. That's another problem, Frank said. Communications have been acting up. Messages are delayed, sometimes altered. Or blocked completely, Carter added. I tried to send a security alert to Earth Command this morning. The system said it went through, but I checked the logs. Nothing was actually transmitted. The three looked at each other, the reality of their situation sinking in. They were alone on a space station with aliens who had a secret plan, and some of their own crew might already be compromised. We need allies, Susan said finally. People we can trust. I think Officer Jacobs is clean, Carter said. He's noticed the same night gatherings I have. And Communications Specialist Patel, Frank added. She mentioned yesterday that she thought someone was tampering with the comm system. They agreed to speak with these two crew members discreetly. Before they left the lab, Carter handed small devices to both Susan and Frank. Put these in your quarters, he said. They'll create a field that might block whatever they're using to influence our minds. It's based on some tech I found in their quarters. That evening, Commander Nelson invited Ambassador Thelix to his private office. The Zephyrian seemed relaxed, its skin glowing with friendly colors. I've been thinking about what you told me the other day, Alex said, pouring 2 glasses of water. About your people fleeing from a terrible enemy. Thelix's colors shifted slightly. Yes, a painful memory for our kind. You never mentioned this in our official talks, Alex noted. Why tell only me, and in private? Thelix accepted the water, glass with one of its 4 hands. Not all truths are ready to be shared widely. Some are seeds that must be planted carefully, with those who will understand. Alex nodded slowly. I understand caution, but I'm concerned about other things too. Some of my crew report strange malfunctions, unauthorized system changes. Growth is never without challenges, Thelix said smoothly. Perhaps your crew is struggling to adapt to new ideas, new technologies. Before Alex could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. The emergency lighting activated, bathing everything in red. Warning, life support malfunction in Section C. All personnel evacuate immediately, announced the station's automated system. Alex jumped to his feet. That's the main crew quarters. He rushed to the comm panel on the wall. Nelson to control. What's happening? Sir, we have a situation, came Officer Jacobs's voice. One of the Zephyrians was caught installing an unknown device in the life support hub. When confronted, it attacked Officer Ryan. He's injured, and the alien is contained. In Security Bay 2, Alex looked at Thelix, whose skin had gone a dark, stormy color. Ambassador, I need an explanation. Now. As alarms continued to sound around them, Thelix's form seemed to grow larger, more imposing. For the first time, Commander Nelson felt afraid of the alien he had considered a friend. It appears, Thelix said in a voice that no longer sounded friendly, that we need to move to the next phase of our plan sooner than expected. The lights of Space Station Unity flickered as Commander Alex Nelson stared at Ambassador Thelix. The alien's skin had darkened to a deep purple, and its body seemed to grow taller, more threatening. What plan? Alex demanded. What have you been doing to my station and my crew? Thelix moved with sudden speed, pressing a small device against the door panel. The room sealed with a hiss. We had hoped to do this gradually, Commander, to ease your people into understanding. Understanding what? Alex asked, backing away slowly. That your world is our best hope, Thelix said. Our species is dying. Our home world was destroyed not by enemies, as I told you, but by our own mistakes. We need Earth. The station-wide comm system crackled. Commander Nelson, this is Lieutenant Carter. Please respond. We have a station-wide emergency. Alex reached for his personal comm device, but Thelix moved with incredible speed, knocking it from his hand. I'm afraid we cannot allow interference at this critical stage, the alien said. Meanwhile, in the security bay, Lieutenant Carter, Dr. Wright, Engineer Martinez, Officer Jacobs, and Communications Specialist Patel had gathered around the captured Zephyrian. The alien was secured behind an energy field, its skin flashing angry red patterns. We found this device it was installing, Jacob said, showing them a small silver cylinder. According to Dr. Wright's scanner, it releases some kind of airborne compound. Susan studied the readings on her tablet. It matches the strange organisms I found in the air system. They're designed to change our brain chemistry and make us more accepting. They're trying to take over the station, Frank said grimly. Maybe more than that. Carter nodded. I can't reach the commander. We have to assume he's compromised or captured. What about Dr. Bennett? Olivia Patel asked. She's been acting strange for days. I saw her heading toward the main control room just before the alarm, Jacobs reported. She had 2 Zephyrians with her. Carter made a quick decision. Martinez, can you lock down the critical systems from here? Frank moved to a control panel. I can try, but they've made a lot of unauthorized changes. I don't know how much control we still have. As Frank worked, the lights flickered again. The security field holding the captured alien wavered. They're shutting down backup power, Frank muttered, typing frantically. I can't stop it remotely. Carter turned to Patel. Olivia, we need communications with Earth. Can you bypass whatever they've done to the system? She nodded. I've been working on a workaround. Give me 10 minutes at the backup comm array in Section F. You'll need protection, Carter said. Jacobs, go with her. As they left, the captured Zephyrian spoke for the first time, its voice oddly calm. You cannot stop what has begun. The transformation is already underway. Susan stepped closer to T, the energy field. What transformation? What are you doing to us? The alien's skin pulsed with colors. Your species is limited by your biology. We offer evolution, advancement. Under our guidance, some of you will become something greater. And the rest? Carter demanded. Resources, the alien replied simply. As with any change, there is a cost. In the main control room, Dr. Alice Bennett worked quickly, her movements precise as she adjusted settings on the station's systems. The 2 Zephyrians with her monitored her progress. The atmospheric balance has reached optimal levels, one said. The transmission can begin. Alice nodded, her eyes strangely vacant. The signal to the fleet is ready. They will receive our coordinates and status report. The other Zephyrian raised all 4 arms. Finally, we will have a new home. In Commander Nelson's office, Alex was trying to reason with Thelix. If your people need help, we can work together, he said. Earth has always welcomed refugees. We could find a solution that works for both species. Your understanding is admirable but naive, Thelix replied. We do not seek to share your world. We seek to claim it. Our biology is adaptable, as you've seen. With proper preparation, Earth will become Zephyria reborn. And humans? Alex asked, though he feared the answer. Some will serve as vessels. For our consciousness, their minds joined with ours. The rest will not be needed. Alex felt sick. He had trusted this being, considered it a friend. How many of your kind wait out there? Millions, Thelix said. The last of our species preserved, in storage waiting to be awakened on a new world. A small explosion shook the station, causing Thelix to stumble. Alex seized the moment, lunging for the door panel. He managed to press the emergency override before Thelix grabbed him with 2 powerful arms. The door slid open, and Alex shouted, into the corridor. Security alert. Station-wide lockdown. Code black. Back in the security bay, the lights went completely out for a moment before emergency lighting kicked in with a dull red glow. That's the commander's override code, Carter said. He's still fighting. The security field around the captured Zephyrian failed. The alien moved with blinding speed, but Carter was ready. He fired his stun weapon, sending the alien crashing. To the floor. Frank, where are we with systems control? Carter asked urgently. I've managed to isolate life support from their influence, Frank replied. But main power, communications, and navigation are still compromised. Susan's tablet beeped with an alert. The air's changing faster now. Whatever they were planning, they're accelerating it. Carter made another quick decision. We need to split up. Frank, stay here and keep working on the systems. Susan, find a way to counter whatever they're putting in our air. I'm going to find the commander. As Carter headed for the door, it slid, open to reveal Dr. Bennett standing there, flanked by 3 Zephyrians. Her eyes were completely black now, with no whites visible. Lieutenant Carter, she said in a voice that sounded both like hers and not hers. You've been most troublesome. Alice, Carter said carefully, you need to fight whatever they've done to you. She smiled, but it wasn't her smile anymore. They've given me clarity, William. I see now what humanity truly is. A stepping stone to something greater. One of the Zephyrians stepped forward. The others from your resistance group are already captured. Surrender now. Carter didn't believe him, but he had no choice but to play for time. What have you done with the commander? He will serve as the primary vessel, Bennett said. His connection to Thelix is already strong. The joining will be complete soon. Meanwhile, Olivia Patel and Officer Jacobs had reached the backup communications array. They worked quickly, bypassing the altered systems. I think I can get a short message through, Olivia said. But we need to make it count. They'll detect the transmission almost immediately. Jacobs stood guard at the door, weapon ready. Make it simple. Earth needs to know we're under attack. Olivia nodded and began typing. As she worked, Jacobs saw movement in the corridor. Hurry, he whispered. We have company. Olivia's fingers flew over the controls. Almost there. Just need to... Got it. She pressed the final key. Message sent with our coordinates and a warning. The door burst open. 2 Zephyrians entered, their skin pulsing with angry red colors. Jacobs fired his weapon, hitting one of them, but the other moved with impossible speed, knocking him unconscious. Olivia backed away from the console, searching for a weapon. You're too late. Earth knows what you're planning. The standing Zephyrian tilted its head. No, human. You are too late. Our signal to our fleet was sent minutes ago. They are already on their way. In the main control room, the station's view screens showed the small Zephyrian ship detaching from the docking bay. It moved a short distance away and began to glow, with bright energy. The amplifier is activated, one of the aliens reported. The beacon will guide our fleet to Earth. How long? Asked the altered Dr. Bennett. 3 of your Earth days, came the reply. Then a new age begins. Lieutenant William Carter woke up in darkness. His head throbbed with pain. He tried to move his arms, but they were secured to a wall behind him. As his eyes adjusted to the dim light, he saw he was in one of the station's storage rooms. Now, converted into a makeshift prison. Anyone else here? He whispered. Carter? Is that you? Engineer Martinez's voice came from nearby. They got us all. Susan and Jacobs are here too. Patel was taken somewhere else. Carter tested his restraints. They were solid but human-made. The Zephyrians had used the station's own security equipment to hold them. What's the situation? He asked. Dr. Wright's voice answered, tired but determined. From what I could gather before they brought us here, they've taken full control of the main systems. Their ship is acting as some kind of beacon for their fleet. And the commander? I saw him being taken to the medical bay, Jacobs said. Bennett was with them. They were talking about some kind of joining procedure. Carter processed this information. They're going to try to take over his body, use him as their first vessel. We can't let that happen. Susan said firmly. Carter nodded in the darkness. Martinez, these restraints, can they be overridden? Maybe, Frank replied. They're connected to the station's security system. If I could access a control panel, I might be able to help with that. Came a new voice from the doorway. The prisoner squinted as light spilled in from the corridor. Olivia Patel stood there looking disheveled but very much herself. Patel? How did you escape? Carter asked. She moved quickly to their restraints, using a small device to release them, one by one. I didn't. They thought I was under their influence like Bennett. I've been pretending. How? Susan asked, rubbing her wrists as she was freed. Your device, Carter, Olivia explained. The one you gave us to block their mind control. I had it in my pocket when they captured me. I kept it hidden, and it worked. What's the situation outside? Carter asked as Patel freed him last. Bad, she said. They're preparing for their fleet's arrival. Bennett and 3 Zephyrians are with the commander in medical bay. They've started some kind of procedure. The rest are in the control room, monitoring the beacon and changing the station's atmosphere. We need weapons, Jacob said. Olivia smiled slightly and opened a small bag she carried, already handled. I accessed the emergency armory. Stun weapons only, but better than nothing. Carter took a weapon and checked its charge. We need a plan. We can't just storm in there. They're too fast, too strong. Susan had been thinking. I might have something. Before they captured me, I was working on a compound to counteract what they've been putting in our air. It's not perfect, but it might disorient them enough to give us an advantage. Where is it? Carter asked. Hidden in my lab, inside an unmarked container in the cold storage unit, she replied. And I think I can disrupt their beacon, Frank added. If I can access the engineering systems, I might be able to send a feedback pulse to their ship. It won't destroy it, but it could disable the beacon temporarily. Carter nodded. Good. And we need to help the commander. I might know how, Susan said. If their joining process is biological, I might be able to interrupt it. But we need to hurry. The longer they have him, the harder it will be to break their connection. They formed a quick plan. Susan and Olivia would go to the lab to get the compound, then head to the medical bay to help the commander. Frank and Jacobs would go to engineering to disrupt the beacon. Carter would create a diversion to draw attention away from both teams. Before they split up, Carter looked at each of them seriously. Whatever happens, we can't let them succeed. Earth is counting on us. In the medical bay, Commander Alex Nelson lay on an examination table, his mind fighting against the alien presence. Trying to take hold, Ambassador Thelic stood over him, all 4 hands placed on Alex's head. Dr. Bennett monitored the process on a nearby screen. His resistance is stronger than expected, Bennett said, her voice still carrying that strange dual quality. But he is weakening. Continue, Thelic ordered. His connection to this station and Earth Command makes him the ideal primary vessel. Inside his mind, Alex fought a battle unlike any he had ever faced. He could feel Thelix's consciousness pushing against his own, trying to reshape his thoughts, his memories, his very identity. Stop fighting, Commander. Thelix's voice echoed in his head. Join with us. See the glory of our unified future. Images flashed before Alex's mental vision. Earth transformed to suit the Zephyrians, humans serving as hosts for alien minds, the planet's resources harvested to support the newcomers. He could feel himself slipping, losing his grip on who he was. Then, from somewhere deep in his fading consciousness, Alex remembered something. The faces of his crew, the trust they placed in him, the oath he took to protect them, and Earth. With that memory came strength. No, he thought back fiercely. This is our world, our home. I will not surrender it. The mental battle raged on as Susan and Olivia made their way to the lab. They moved carefully, avoiding the few Zephyrians, patrolling the corridors. In the lab, Susan quickly found her hidden compound and loaded it into a dispersion device. This should work through the ventilation system, she explained. But we need to get to the main air circulation controls. Meanwhile, Frank and Jacobs had reached engineering. Most of the Zephyrians were focused on the control room or medical bay, leaving only one guard. Jacobs took it down with a well-aimed stun blast before it could call for help. Frank worked quickly at the engineering console. The beacon is operating on a quantum frequency. I think I can disrupt it by creating an inverse wave pattern from our own communications array. In the corridors near the control room, Carter put his diversion plan into action. He set off a series of small explosions in empty sections of the station, triggering alarms and drawing Zephyrian attention. The plan worked. Most of the aliens left the control room to investigate, giving Susan and Olivia the chance they needed. They slipped into the environmental control section and connected Susan's device to the main ventilation system. "Ready?" Susan asked. Olivia nodded. "Do it." Susan activated the device. A fine mist began to flow through the station's air vents. In engineering, Frank called out triumphantly, "Got it! Sending the pulse now." The station shuddered slightly as the pulse shot toward the Zephyrian ship. On the monitors, they could see the bright glow of the beacon flicker and dim. In the medical bay, Thelix suddenly stiffened, its skin flashing with alarmed colors. Something is wrong. The beacon. At that moment, Susan's compound reached the medical bay through the vents. The Zephyrians began to move more slowly, their coordinated movements becoming clumsy. Thelix's mental grip on Commander Nelson weakened. Alex seized the opportunity. With a surge of will, he pushed back against the alien presence in his mind. This time, Thelix was the one who faltered. The medical bay doors slid open as Susan and Olivia rushed in, weapons ready. They fired at the disoriented Zephyrians, stunning two of them immediately. Thelix turned toward them but moved with uncharacteristic slowness. Dr. Bennett screamed in rage, her eyes flickering between normal and the solid black of Zephyrian influence. The compound was affecting the alien control over her as well. Carter arrived moments later, joining the fight. Between them, they managed to subdue all the Zephyrians except Thelix, who backed away toward the far wall. "You cannot stop what is coming," the alien said, its voice distorted. "Our fleet will still find Earth. This is merely a delay." "Maybe," Alex said, sitting up weakly from the examination table. "But it's enough time for Earth to prepare. Your advantage of surprise is gone." At that moment, Frank's voice came over. The comm system which he had managed to restore. "Carter, Commander, we've got control of communications back. Earth Defense Force is responding to our warning. They're sending ships." Thelix's skin darkened with rage. "This is not over. Our kind will survive no matter the cost." "Not at the expense of our world," Alex replied firmly. "Now surrender." In the days that followed, the humans regained full control of the station. Dr. Bennett and others affected by the Zephyrian influence gradually recovered as the alien compounds left their systems. The captured Zephyrians were contained in a secure section of the station, awaiting decisions from Earth on their fate. Earth Defense Forces arrived to secure the station and the alien ship, which was no longer functioning as a beacon. Scientists had already begun studying the Zephyrian technology to develop defenses against the approaching fleet. Commander Nelson stood at the same observation window where he had first watched the Zephyrian ship approach. The stars looked different to him now, no longer just beautiful, but filled with potential threats as well as wonders. Lieutenant Carter joined him at the window. "Earth is preparing, sir. Defense systems are being upgraded with what we've learned. Early warning beacons are being placed throughout the solar system." Alex nodded. "And the crew?" "Recovering well," Carter replied. "Dr. Wright has developed a more permanent counteragent to the Zephyrian influence. Engineer Martinez is working with Earth scientists to adapt some of the alien technology for our defenses." "And you, Lieutenant?" Alex asked, noticing the dark circles under Carter's eyes. "I'll be fine, sir. The headaches are fading. Dr. Wright says there will be no permanent effects." They stood in silence for a moment, looking out at the